On today's show, the best moment of the Mavericks 2024 finals run was... I'll tell you on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks.
How about 10 Mavericks, NBA champions? Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show. Making Locked On Mavs your first listen today, where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day on any podcast platform all through the offseason. Leave us a 5-star review, like the video on YouTube, and comment anything below. Let me know, what was your favorite moment? What was the best moment of the Mavs 2024 finals run? This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest, most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA to use that code, all lowercase, LockedOnNBA, for a first deposit match up to $100. And joining me, as she does every week, pre and post for the Mavs and for the Texas Rangers, the eternal optimist. What you got for me, Dana Larson?
I just want to check in on everyone today. How is everybody doing? It's a vibe check for sure. I've missed you guys. You know, it's like you're in this so deep. You're so invested for so many weeks and months, and then it's over. And it's like we don't know what to do with ourselves. And I just want to make sure everybody out there is doing good. Let you know I miss you. I'm so excited. We had these incredible months together. This has been really, really fun. And you know what? I'm still glad we're celebrating the season, Nick. And that's kind of what we're doing today. I love that. Absolutely.
I talked to Kevin Gray yesterday. We did an episode. We actually did an episode on Bronny James and the rumor about Bronny James. First of all, that's the answer on what you do, Dana. What does everybody do now? We keep moving on. Off-season mode now. We'll do 5 days a week all through the off-season. We'll talk about rumors. We'll talk about all that. So we'll continue to do that. But the other thing that Kevin told me, he's like, I'm having a hard time like decompressing because there should be another game. It's the first time. This is the first period of time since October 2023. October 4th, 2023 was the Mavs' first game in Abu Dhabi in the preseason. Like, it has been a long time since we haven't had a Mavs game in sight.
And I don't know I'm antsy. I don't know what to do with all my energy. I still have like nervous energy for some reason from the finals and wanting to pull them through it, you know? And so, yeah, I'm going to have to settle down. Clearly I have not gotten there yet.
Well, today we'll talk about some of the best moments of the Mavs 2024 run. We'll talk about some of the things that stood out, the individual moments, the feelings, all that kind of stuff. We'll talk through it. I got to start here because I think the single greatest moment, and I tried to go through and I told Dana, let's each bring three of the three best moments to us. And so we each have three, but I wanted to rank them. The best moment, the single best moment, the peak of the Mavs 2024 run was Luca's game winner against Rudy Gobert.
Yes.
That was the best. That was the single best moment where you go, man, it's game 2. They had one game 1 on the road, and they just won game 2 on the road. Luca hits the shot right in Rudy Gobert's face. You get Jaden McDaniel's face reacting to it under the basket because he knew exactly as soon as he switched, as soon as he got under the rim that Luca was putting that shot up, it was going in. You had Gobert dancing and turning the wrong way, and Luca's reaction and yelling at Gobert and yelling at the crowd and yelling at on the road. I was there in the building, and the amount of like silence that just took over that building, the shock and not panic, but the feeling of, oh my God, we're not going to win this. We're not going to win this series. The same thing that happened to the Mavericks in the finals happened to Minnesota in the Western Conference Finals. The bench reaction from the Mavericks, everybody getting up and like running to them. Then you have the Kyrie and Luca, like one more, the Jared W like on the bench, one more possession. We got one more possession because there's still time left on the clock. Kyrie had hit a big 3, the possession before that, to give them the opportunity to hit that. Like, that to me was the peak of this run. Like, sadly, it kind of went downhill after that, but that was the peak.
That was the peak. I agree with you totally. In fact, I've named this. I've named this moment, and it was inspired by a movie I just watched with my kids the other night in this downtime that we don't know what to do with ourselves. I watched Blades of Glory. I don't even know. You may not have even. This is an old Will Ferrell movie.
I was gonna say the Will Ferrell, and he's an ice skater, right?
And it's absolutely like hilariously bad. But Luca putting Rudy on skates. This was Blades of Glory right here.
That's a great name for that.
The Mavericks. I just couldn't help but think of that because watching Rudy Gobert and those long legs try to keep up with the footwork and the dance moves in the step back, the vintage, the classic, the step back move from Luca. And it was perfect too, because Rudy's like his foil, right? It's like they have all this history and they have, the best offensive player in the world against the 3-time defensive player of the year, who should not be out guarding the perimeter on Luka Doncic at all. So the second it happened, you knew we were in for the ultimate moment. And for Luka to step into that moment, to step into those bright lights on the stage, that spot, that shot, and to hit it, to shut that crowd up. And it had, it was the exclamation point on an unbelievable second half. They were down. They were down by, I think, as many as 16, maybe in the second half of that game. You had some of that 4Q fourth quarter Kyrie, like 13 of his 20 points were in the fourth. So you had him, building it up to hand it off for the Luca Magic. And it all just played out literally like a movie script, and Luca says afterwards, I mean, we loved all the reaction. The way he literally, screams all the words we can't say right now at Rudy. Rudy doesn't even turn around. He can feel it on the back of his head.
Hold on. You want to say some of them?
And then he said, I can't move fast, but I can move faster than him. I mean, that's a quote.
That's so good.
I'll never forget. What a moment. It had everything. And then, we even had, like you said, they had to get through that defensive possession. And it was Naz Reid who was owning that game before that. And of all people, Naz Reid, who's having the game of his life, is the guy they go to try to hit their big shot. He gets a shot off, but it erased all of that. People will never really even remember what Naz Reid did in that game. It was brilliant, and it was so much fun.
They were down. I pulled up my notes. They were down 15 right at the beginning of the third quarter. Cat hit a 3, and the Mavs basically got a shot clock violation at the other end. And you're like, oh my God, they're gonna lose. Like, they're gonna lose this game. But this team, like, they didn't ever give up. And even when they got to the finals and they were overmatched and all that, they never gave up on this. Hardy had a couple of big moments in that run too. He had a 3. He hit another floater that I'll name Hardy a little bit later in some of our honorable mentions. Also the turnover. So Kyrie hits a 3 late in the clock. Mavs are only down 2 points at that point. You had the out of bounds, the challenge, where it went out of bounds, where Kyrie technically fouled Jaden McDaniels on the arm, and they couldn't go back and change it, but they were able to. The Mavs challenged it, and the Mavs got the ball back. Luca missed a jumper with 30 seconds left. Then you go to the other end, and Anthony Edwards turns the ball over off of a bad pass, and it was Lively that switched onto him. Lively was the one guarding him, so that adds to that moment too, where you're building to this. Okay, comeback, making up for mistakes. Crazy ref call that could have swung it. Like, so many what ifs in that moment to lead up to Luca hitting this one shot, which is just
Lively with the screen that triggers the switch.
Yeah, right.
That
and
then brings
then
about
he held on to Jaden. Oh,
yes. And then you've got the face that nobody will ever forget, which is the moment Jaden McDaniels realized what was happening. And he's like, uh-oh, Rudy's up there, and Rudy is on an island against the best shooter in the world. And it was a thing. It was a thing to remember.
A thing of beauty. It was incredible to see that. That, to me, was peak of the Mavs 2024 playoff run. Let me know in the comment section on YouTube, or let us know on Twitter, or text me on the subtext. What was your favorite moment, or the best moment you think, if there's one that was better than that moment? But coming up, we'll name the best moments of the 2024 playoff run. Talk about all that and more coming up.
You don't believe you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks daily fantasy made easy. All you have to do is go to prizepicks.com. And if you're sad, like Dana is, like Kevin is, like I was, that the Mavs are done playing, there's more sports to be had. There's more sports to have fun with. And Prize Picks is a way to take that fun to another level and feel that same, maybe not the exact same attachment you feel the Mavs games, but to feel that sort of connectedness to a game like that. It's fun to play Prize Picks. All you have to do is go to prizepicks.com. You pick more or less on stat projections on 2 to 6 players, and then you watch the winnings roll in. You can do it on the WNBA, you can do it on baseball games, you can do it on soccer, tennis, Call of Duty matches, MMA, all kinds of different things that you can do. For example, right now they have the Sparks versus the New York Liberty. You can go ahead and pick, let's see, Breanna Stewart, 20 points, more or less. I feel like it was more than 20 points last night when I did this. So I'm going to go more on that one. You can pick Jonquel Jones, 17 points. Give me less on that one. Let me go with, who else can I pick? Sabrina Ionescu, 6.5 assists. I'll go more on 6.5 assists. Feel good about that one. Jonquel Jones, 8.5 rebounds. Give me more on that one. We took less. So if I just do those 4 right there, that's pretty fun. You can follow those 3 players. Put down $20. I can win it 200 if they all hit. If I put down just $5, I can win 50 if they all hit. So check that out. You can turn $10 into $1,000. You can do all kinds of stuff with Prize Picks. If you use that code LOCKEDONNBA, they'll give you a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks everybody for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening all throughout the playoffs and beyond. We'll continue on all throughout the offseason. We'll continue to have episodes here. Well, we just did an episode about Bronny James and the rumor there that the Mavs are interested in him, and what does that mean? So Kevin and I talked about that. If you missed that episode, also talked with Reggie yesterday about the lessons the Mavericks should learn from the playoff run. And Slightly Biased and I are going to do an episode tomorrow about the Mavs offseason overview. We'll kick off the offseason. We'll do the whole thing where this is what you need to know about the Mavericks going into the offseason. So stick with us on Locked On Mavs. But we're here with Dana Larson talking about the best moments of the Mavs 2024 finals run. The peak moment to us was Luca's game winner against Gobert, game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. The next best moment was... You
ready for me? Oh, hold on.
I'm ready.
Hold on.
Uh-oh. They're props? There's props involved.
There's props.
Hey!
For those that are not watching but are only listening, we are standing on business. So, our first one, Nick, was the peak moment, probably the best moment, right? This one is my favorite. I was downright giddy when this happened in this game. PJ Washington became a Mavericks legend.
Absolutely.
He now will go down in Mavs lore for this moment, and I was there for it. I am here for it. I cannot stop thinking about it and smiling about everything that has come from this, because it was such a tone setter too.
Yes.
It was the first home playoff game of the stretch run, right? I mean, hadn't had playoffs last season. Everybody's so fired up. It's the Clippers. It's the hated Clippers, right? And you're wanting to get past them. And the first 2 games have been really physical. And there's all of this sort of, intensity and energy between these 2 teams. So PJ Washington, who grew up a Mavs fan, grew up in the area, right? Wanted more than anything to play for this organization, ends up being a huge part of their push to get to the playoffs. And then for this moment, which truly will go down, I think, in Mavs history, because it was the moment that we realized these guys have each other's back. These guys are here to be tough. They're not going anywhere. PJ is willing to be an enforcer. We learned so much about the kind of person and player that PJ Washington is and was in that moment for the game, that he was going to bring so much more to the table too, beyond just sort of those basketball skills, that this is a guy that is not going to be pushed around, but he's also not going to do it in a way like Russell Westbrook. Like, we got to see such a difference between, or Lou Dort, right? We saw the difference between how those guys were handling it. Super dirty, in that game, Russ is literally losing his mind. I mean, he's doing crazy stuff.
Oh, that transition play where he just like pushes Luca. Oh my gosh, I still can see that one.
Yes, and honestly, Russell Westbrook is the one that sort of created this injury issue that Luca had to deal with all throughout the playoffs. So for PJ Washington to take that moment and just, stand on business to, to protect his teammate, to let the Clippers bench know he wasn't going to be told what to do. It was the funniest thing. And I don't think in the moment, I think everybody was still processing it. I knew I felt like this. I couldn't stop thinking about it myself. And then that night for it to blow up and just be viral and then, spawn into t-shirts and posters and him doing interviews all over the place talking about it. I know everywhere he goes now, he's asked to do this pose, right?
Oh, I bet.
It is just, that to me is just burned in my brain and brings a smile to my face every time I think about it.
It's an incredible moment. It was game 3 of the Mavs Clippers series. And so Kyrie hits a 3. The Mavs go up 84-67. So they're up at this point by 17? Gafford blocks PJ's or Paul George's dunk on the other end. That was a massive moment too. And then the Clippers are starting to get frustrated. So Terrence Mann had been this kind of like instigator, he'd been poking at Luca for years and years. And him and PJ Washington started to get into it. And then Terrence Mann looks at PJ, and PJ was like looking at the bench after a play. And Terrence Mann goes, "Don't look at my bench." And that's why PJ Washington looks over, folds his arms, looks over, and stands like the stand on business. Like, I'll look at whoever I want. And then they all get into it. And later, you mentioned the Westbrook. So Westbrook had a hard foul on Luca. Got in Luca's face. Luca kind of laughed about it. PJ came over and shoved him back. And that's where you talk about the enforcer of like, he came in and he had Luca's back there. PJ had already gotten a technical, so he gets ejected. Westbrook gets ejected. And PJ, I'll never forget, we were in the building, and PJ, as soon as he gets ejected, sprints to the locker room, just like the sprinting, and everyone saw him go because all of a sudden there's just this streak going across the floor, and everyone cheered, and it was the loudest I think the crowd had gotten.
Yes.
It was such a huge moment there that you're like, oh, we finally have a guy, and he became a Mavericks legend just then. Like you said, he became part of it. And it reminded me of, do you remember the clip of Josh Richardson and James Johnson years ago on the plane on the way to join the Mavericks? They had just gotten traded to the Mavericks, and they go, "The dogs are on their way." You remember that clip where they're like, the dogs are on their way, and you're finally like, all right, we finally got an enforcer for Luca, because it was the year after Markieff Morris against this, or Marcus Morris against this same Clippers team stepped on Luca's ankle, and it was a whole deal. And you're like, oh, we need somebody to step up and not be a bodyguard, but be an enforcer. And showed some toughness on this team. This team needed an injection of that. And this whole sequence we just talked about embodied that. They finally got it. Years later it took, but this is actually an honorable mention for me. I didn't put this as one of my number one moments.
You didn't put it way up there. It's the first that comes to my mind.
But it will be one of those moments you look back on and you'll remember this playoff run because of that.
Yeah. It had for me everything that you want. We love the entertainment value of a basketball game. It had intensity. It had hilarity. It had Luka with that knowing smile. Even Jason Kidd, who you never see a smile out of, came out in the little bit of the scrum that kind of happened after the fact, and he couldn't help but kind of laugh about it. And I mean, I had to soak all that in, because sometimes it's just fun to get beyond X's and O's, and it's fun to see the personalities of guys, and and to see what I think that was another critical moment that really pulled this team together. That chemistry we've talked about a lot. That was another one of those real formative moments, I think, for this team.
Absolutely. Yeah. PJ had 18 points in game 2 of that series. He was a huge boost to that team to go to tie it 1-1. And then in game 3, this was a big moment. And so they go up 2-1. It could be a completely different series if they don't necessarily have this moment, if he doesn't play as well as he did in game 2. And then we can talk about PJ, the other moments that he had. In OKC, he had 29 in game 2, 27 in game 3, and they win both of those games. Just massive games. He was so big in this playoff run. It kind of went downhill towards the end of the finals, but the Mavs are not in the finals without PJ Washington. All the things that he did, it's amazing, and I'm glad that he's signed for a couple more years now.
Absolutely, I agree, and I just continue to say, 25 years old. 25 years
right.
old, right? And we're just beginning to unlock everything that he can bring to this team, because what he was doing for Charlotte, we saw these nice offensive skills. I think there's so much more to him, and if he has an entire offseason and then a full year with this group, it's really going to be fun to see what that ends up looking like.
Absolutely. Coming up, my next best moment of the finals run, I'll tell you, has to do with an incredible rookie center. You'll have to guess who it is. Come on.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. If you're hiring professionals for your small business, you want to check out to make sure that they're the right professionals for the job. You want to make sure they're qualified. You want to make sure that they have the right things for your role. So that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. They have the tools to help you find those right professionals for your team faster. It's not just another job board. They have a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire, to find those people, and to narrow it down quickly. As a small business owner, you have too much on your plate to try and narrow down. All right, I got 200 applicants. I have to narrow it down to 5 to then interview them. Well, let LinkedIn do that for you. They have so many resources to help you. They even just added a feature that helps you write job descriptions, so you can take that off your plate as well. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. Again, linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions, they do apply.
My first shot, my first make.
All right, Dana, we're talking about the best moments in the Mavs 2024 playoff run. We talked about Luca's game winner. We talked about PJ Washington standing on business against the Clippers in that series. Incredible moments. My next best moment, though, is in the NBA Finals. The Mavs get their one win in the NBA Finals. I roll from me. Game 4, they win the game. Huge, huge moments. But first quarter, the Mavs are down by 1 point. Dereck Lively hits a corner 3, the first 3 of his career, goes to the other end, alters a Tillman shot at the rim, doesn't get counted as a block, but could have been. Then he gets the alley-oop on the other end. That moment, to me, kick-started their run to win and not get swept in the NBA Finals. Lively has such a huge moment. I think it just encapsulated how much of his rise we saw in the playoffs. For him to go from, man, he may play in the G League when he first got drafted. Like, we were all kind of thinking, like, oh, maybe he will. And then for him to start game 2, to play so well in game 1 of the regular season, to start in game 2, to become a starter, then to be on the bench when Gafford came over, but to still play so well, to be so important, he misses game 4 against the Timberwolves and they lose that game, and you go, oh my gosh, he's so important to this team. Like, we didn't realize how important Dereck Lively was, to then in the finals have this moment where it's 3 on one end, defense on the other end, alley-oop on the other end. Just an incredible, incredible sequence to maybe show the future of what Dereck Lively can bring and also the present of how good he is right now. I just thought that it was such a massive moment that I had to put it up there.
I love that too, because I think there had even been some earlier that day, some video that was out from his shoot around in the morning, and it was Lively shooting threes, working on his 3, and it was like, okay, and then all of a sudden, literally a moment happens where Luca passes to Lively in the corner. Like, we did not think those words would be said at any point this season, but I think you're right. I mean, he is just going to continue to build, and if he can even find a way to add that, we could do a week's worth of off-season shows on Dereck Lively's rookie season, don't you think? I mean, it has, and will, there you go. It has been one of the most amazing stories to watch, to, listen to his interviews, to watch him grow as a player, as a person, to be inspired by what this 20-year-old not only can cope with, but can, find a way to just move past things in real life. And think about the pressure on him in the NBA, just alone with what he's dealing with, just being a rookie in the NBA, not to mention all of the stuff he's been dealing with. I loved watching highlight film from the season and seeing those great shots of his mom in the stands, and he'll always have that. And now he plays obviously for her. And it just felt like, to see him be able to impact the game in so many different ways. In the rebounding, my gosh, the rebounding on the offensive end too, the tap outs, the possessions he keeps alive, the vertical threat that he brings, and he's just the relationship he has with Tyson Chandler. I mean, I can't get enough of it. I mean, it's just there's so much about watching him, and that three just literally was sort of like that. Wow, you can't be serious. This season for him just cannot get any more interesting. And you could make a movie about him and this year that he's had too. It's terrific. And I love that for him. And, again, one of those things you go, I cannot believe I just saw that.
I think I have the audio for what he said after. So he hits the three, and this is what he said about that moment afterwards.
It's for her. She helped me make it. She's going to help me make a lot more. She helped me make it the free throw line. She helped me make reads. I'm just thankful for having Luca pass me the ball in that position. I'm happy I knocked it down. Just got to be able to make the next one.
It was for her, like his mother that passed away earlier in the year, like just an incredible moment, and like so poised of him to say it like that, to express that, to use that as motivation, and to use it to be better at your craft and better at what you do and better at all that. Like just an incredible moment. So that's why I put it up there as it's my second best moment.
Well, I love it. And also, I mean, go back basically a year. It was his 3-point shooting that also got a ton of people's attention in the pre-draft workouts. And of course, that's, a lot of what you sort of forget as you get into the season, and he's certainly not being asked to do that, or that is really not part of his role. And he wasn't even trying to. He said, I'm here. I know what my role is. I do the dirty work. I want to rebound the ball. I want to make life easier for Luca and for Kyrie. But not to be forgotten is the fact that is a skill set that got a lot of people's attention too.
Yep.
1 year ago, right before the Mavericks drafted him, he was draining a ton of threes. So it's not a surprise. He can do it. It's just going to be a matter of, developing that as part of his NBA game. And when it's an appropriate time to add in.
Yeah, right. I think those are the three best moments. The Luka game winner, the PJ Washington standing on business, and the Lively finals moment. I have another one that I put up there, and it's a subjective. It's not exact moment it's not the same moment for everybody, but I think it's the moment when you realized, if you're a Mavs fan, when you realized, oh my gosh, the Mavs can win a title. Like the Mavs can go to the finals and win a title. So for me, it was when the Mavs won game 1 against the Timberwolves. That's when I realized, oh my God, I did an episode on it. I was like, do you guys realize the Mavericks are one of the 4 teams left? They can beat this Timberwolves team, and they can go to the finals. And I thought they could beat the Celtics. I apparently was wrong about that. For some people, it was being up 3-0 against the Timberwolves. And that moment, and to me, my personal favorite moment, like for myself, was Mavs up 3-0, and we do the post-game show right next to the TNT guys. Ernie Johnson, like one of my idols, is like 10 feet away from me doing his show with Chuck and Shaq, and I'm over here with Slightly and Reggie, and we're doing our show. The Mavs fans behind us, the Maniacs in front of us. It was an incredible personal moment, but I think it also was a moment when a lot of Mavs fans realized, I think we can win the title. Like, we're going to go to the finals, and I think we can win the title. And that is an incredible fan moment that you only get a couple times, maybe in your fandom.
There was some electric crowds at the AAC too in this playoff run. And it was awesome because there were a couple of clinching games that ended up being there. And it is those moments where you look around for a second, you've got to soak it in and feel it. I think I love everything you just said about the Minnesota series, but I even would take it a step back to the clinching game against Oklahoma City that put them into the West Finals, because they had to come back, from a big deficit in that game, and they did not want to go to Oklahoma City for a game 7.
No,
I mean, that's a big what if, right? If that series had gone to 7, and you had to play that on the Thunder's home court. So to me, coming back from down 17 in that one, and what it was a total team effort. So that was a win to me that really embodied what this Mavericks team needed and wanted to be a championship caliber team. And that was, You need your Kyrie and your Luca big moments, and they certainly had them. But you needed so much more. You needed role players to step up. And in that comeback against the Thunder, I feel like you really had it. You had a huge game from Derrick Jones Jr. Dereck Lively, let's talk about him. He was a plus 26 in that game. It's the thing that got Luca to say, man, I'm really glad we drafted him, a plus 26. He was so important on the court. PJ Washington didn't score until like 4 minutes left in the game. And then he hits 2 big threes and some clutch free throws, to ice the game. So, and then they got to celebrate with that home crowd and have kind of those moments you're describing that, everybody will remember. So that I'm going to throw that one in for a little bit of an extra, oh my God, I think this team really has something special here moment.
Absolutely wild moments. Let us know in the comment section, what was the best moment of the Mavs 2024 finals run? A bonus, like honorable mention from me, was before the playoffs even started. I'm on my way to LA and my plane is delayed. I'm frustrated about it. And all of a sudden I look over and Tim Hardaway Jr., who didn't go on the team plane, was sitting there in a hoodie with his hood up and his headphones on. And I take a quick picture, and it's still like some people's Twitter photo on Twitter, which I think is hilarious. Him just sitting there. I think the moment before Game 5 of the NBA Finals, when everybody changed their profile picture on Twitter to the Luca meme, was just an incredible moment. Slightly, and I talked about that the other day on the show. That was a fun, just like fan, like everybody came together, and even non-Mavs fans started to do it too. There's a couple people. Brian Suterer, the sports medical doctor we bring on sometimes, he changed his photo. Because he said he was laughing afterwards because he can't change it back, and neither can I because Twitter changed some of the rules, so we can't change our photos. But he said the Mavs fans are the first ones to really embrace me because he has this huge, massive YouTube channel. I think he's got close to like 1 million subscribers. He's killing it. But the first podcast he was ever on was Locked On Mavs, and he said Mavs fans embraced me so much, and that's what led to some of my success. And so he thanked Mavs fans and wanted to join in with them, and it became like this is a movement, which I thought was super cool. They end up losing Game 5, but that was a fun moment. I think Jaden Hardy having some moments in the Timberwolves series, like he didn't play much at all, and then all of a sudden he comes out and he's playing key minutes. That was kind of like a fun stretch to have him get thrown in there and see him react to some of that. But just incredible moments. Let us know in the comment section.
I know. Can I throw in one more? Do we need
one more?
Okay, I've got one more thing.
Hey.
One more thing, because I feel a little bit like we need to talk about Kyrie Irving. Just, what a season it was for him, this whole season of redemption. He had 2 shots I'll never forget in the playoffs, both in the Clippers series. The floater with 3 Clippers around him where he adjusted in midair, right? And that was just like, you could take a picture of that moment in the air. That was a big one for me. And then his 4-point play, falling in the 3-point shot where he gets fouled, basically falling into his own bench in the clinching game where the Mavs are up big. And it's just, just insane chaos inside the American Airlines Center after after that shot in that particular game. Kyrie had some, just epic shots where you really just have to sit back and appreciate that he's one of one when it comes to that kind of a thing. And I feel like those are probably worth mentioning.
Absolutely worth mentioning. That I had forgot about that shot.
Yeah.
He's leaning to the left, and oh my God, it's absolutely insane. Incredible moments. Let us know in the comment section, what's your favorite moment of the finals run? There's not a wrong one, right? There's so many good ones, and that's what makes it fun. We'll continue to have Dana Larson back throughout the offseason. We'll talk all that, and we'll have so many other episodes. Slightly and I will do an episode tomorrow breaking down the offseason and everything you need to know about that. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.